Hey, this is Lee W. Mowen of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast, and I'm here to talk to you about betonline.net. It's your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And betonline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. For the first time since the pandemic shutdown, we have our first special guest in quite some time. Today, I'm interviewing Tim Swafford of Tim's Top 5 Sports and Recognition. We're talking about Tim's involvement in sports in the local Cincinnati area, how many teams and athletes he's recognized, and of course, local sports on this edition of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. Welcome to the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast with Lee W. Mowen. The podcast talking local Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio area sports. Listen on your favorite podcast platforms by visiting cindaypod.com. That's CINDAYPOD.com. Intro theme is Overdrive by Matrika from Uppbeat.io. Here's your host, Lee W. Mowen. And for the first time in quite a long time, we got a guest on the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. It's Tim Swafford. And Tim, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Lee.
Doing great as well over here. And hey, we're getting close to high school football season again. We turned the calendar a couple more times and then bam, it's right here. And those 10 weeks of regular season sure do fly by in the Queen City, don't they?
Yes, they do. I miss them so much, and I'm excited. I can't wait to kick off in August.
So let's begin the interview. Where are you from?
I am from Cincinnati, Lee. I went to high school at Hughes High School, class of 94.
Okay. So that news about the Engelman family moving from Princeton to Hughes, that's got to get you pretty excited because I tell you, TJ Engelman, he's definitely a star. Lorenzo and Jaleel, they were great receivers on the field for Princeton, and I can't wait to see what the Big Red does with them.
I'm so excited with the Cincinnati Metro Conference this coming season. Not only you got Hughes, it's going to make a lot of noise. You got Taft and Withrow. They're going to be big programs in that league this year. That whole conference is going to be a conference in the Cincinnati area to watch out for. I really believe that. That's going to be really, really big.
So how did you first get into the Cincinnati sports scene?
You know, I used to play high school football. I played at Hughes in the 90s. I just always been a big fan of the local high school football. I've been a big fan of the Reds growing up, and also a big Bengals and UC Bearcat fan. I love sports. That's every morning I get up, that's the one thing I'm always checking out is the sports media and the things to tweet out for these local high school football players.
I mean, you do such a great job. It's pretty much every day that you cover at least a few athletes and teams. And heck, just 15 minutes ago before starting this call, you honored quarterback Drew Novak out of Western Brown. That dude had video game-like numbers last year with the Broncos, for those that don't remember. I mean,
I went out to meet Drew last year as well. Got to sit down and talk to him, and Coach Osborne. What a unbelievable person he is. When you meet this young man, you wouldn't even think he's the guy out there that's passing over 5,000 yards as a junior. I think he also broke Joe Burrow's and Ben Roethlisberger's record in Ohio as well last year.
Yeah, that's just insane. He still has one more year to go. And you know what? He's not that bad of a basketball player either. He's pretty good on the basketball court too. But
hey, I noticed that a lot of these local football players, they're double sports guys. And, Wow. It just shows what kind of athletes we have in the local Cincinnati high school area.
Absolutely. I mean, through my experiences covering Cincinnati sports with ESP Media, I mean, I see a lot of, multi-sport athletes, and man, I mean, it's tough for those kids. Not only do they have schoolwork and social lives, but they also have to train as athletes and everything like that. It's not an easy thing. And what you do to honor them is really cool. So that's why I want you on the podcast.
And speaking about that, Lee, that's why I started this scholarship, and I reached out to AAA Bob Summerall Tire and Service last year, and we started a top performer where I picked for 10 weeks. I picked the top performer of the week, and at the end of the year, I narrow it down to 3 guys, and I go out to interview them, and I decide the winner of that is because no one understands it's hard being a student athlete. These young men, they put a lot of effort in the classrooms, then go out there and practice every day, then come home and have to study as well, then back at it early in the morning. Hey, you got to give it. These young men are really superstars, and, they put a lot of effort into doing what they do, and that is so great.
No question about it. It doesn't matter where they go to school. It's or what division, where they play. It's across the board. And like I said, what you do is really cool. So let me continue on that point. What were some of the challenges and what were some of the starting points to get Bob Summerall in AAA on board with this to start a scholarship type of thing?
I had to come up with a proposal for Greg Summerall. Greg Summerall's son, Charlie Summerall, played for Indian Hill a couple seasons ago, and I followed the CHL pretty well, and Mr. Summerall followed me on Twitter, and I've always thought about what could I do to make a positive thing for the local high school football players, and I reached out to. He's the CEO, the owner, Greg Summerall. I reached out to him, and you know what, Lee, I'll be honest with you. Greg is a great guy. He jumped on it real quick. He said, Tim, this is a great idea. Let's do it.
I love hearing about that. I mean, we talk about how many great local athletes we have in the Cincinnati area, but there's also a lot of great people in the Cincinnati area that have the same love and passion for maybe their schools, maybe the surrounding schools, but there's a lot of great people in the Cincinnati area.
They are. There's a lot of people out there that care about these young men. And, I tell these young men, I get a lot of feedback from parents too, thanking me for putting tweets out for their sons on Twitter and stuff. But, I always tell them, no, thank you. I mean, because your son is doing an unbelievable job.
And, a little compliment goes a long way too.
It's great. It's great. It makes some days when you're down, you got other things going on in your life, and you look on, you get a tweet back, and you get a message, and you get something like that. It puts a big smile on my face because it shows that I am touching these young guys in a lot of way, because they're in class, they're probably having a bad day as well, and they look down and see, oh, Tim's Top 5 is tweeting about me. Hey, this is awesome, and and I enjoy it a lot.
So how did you first get into local sports? You mentioned you played football with Hughes while you were in high school, but how did you decide that, hey, I want to cover local sports and I want to celebrate these local athletes? What was the turning point in getting that started?
Hey, Lee, I'm always a big, like I told you, I'm a big sports fan, watch a lot of ESPN, and big local high school football guy. I love the energy that it brings. And I told myself, I searched social media, and I told myself, there's not that many people out here that gives these guys recognition. And I just told myself, hey, I want to do this. I thought it was the greatest idea to ever come up with, and it's done pretty well.
Absolutely. I mean, the following you have, it's really, really nice. And again, the consistency you do, it's a couple athletes each day, correct?
Yes, it's about 5 athletes each day. I did a video this past week, and I think I put in my video, there is no other people that gets on here every day. I'm doing this 365 days a year, even on Christmas. I'm tweeting about these young men, tweeting about local Cincinnati high school football all season long, all year long. And that is right there. That's the dedication I'm putting into this, because I care so much for these young talents and players that we have in Cincinnati.
And I also have to compliment you too. You focus on all the schools. It's not just one area. It's not just one conference. It's all of them. I'm looking through your Twitter timeline at the moment, and I saw Lebanon, which that'll be an interesting team to see. I see Oak Hills, which they always have a lot of talent. It's just piecing it together. And also the GMC is tough. Milford's in here too. Bishop Fenwick. I combine Bishop and Fenwick together. That's a new school. Bishop Fenwick. And again, if it's in the Cincinnati area, you talk about it.
Hey, we have a lot of talent out there. We have a lot of great teams. There's going to be a lot of big surprise teams coming in this year, and that's going to make a lot of noise in a season. I believe we have, and I will say this, we have the best talent right here in the Cincinnati area in the state of Ohio. We have so much talent.
I mean, as a Daytonian, I'll mash Dayton and Cincinnati together because absolutely, this Southwest Ohio area is just right with high school football. I mean, this past year, all 7 divisions had a representative somewhere, from Southwest Ohio onwards, and 4-3 record in state final games. I mean, hey, no other area can say that. So,
Lee, look at Winton Woods, Lee. Hands down. If you look at their roster right now, you will see they probably have one of the best rosters in high school football in the state right now. That team is so loaded. They just got Trey Cornice from Mount Healthy that transferred over. They also got Van George, the quarterback out of Moeller, that transferred over. Then Casey Spears, Cameron Calhoun that just committed to UC. This team is so hands all the way down on the roster. Chad Murphy, I will predict this. They do another state championship run in 2022 and also win it. And that's coming from a big prediction from me, and I believe that.
I mean, no arguments here. Winton Woods is absolutely stacked, and it's great to see. And even with Chad Murphy, his first year as head coach, taking over for Andre Parker, I mean, those two gentlemen really raised the bar high at Winton Woods. I'd love to see Princeton Winton Woods battle, just for a little bit selfish,
Yes, a little bragging.
So I can broadcast that game and say, hey, I saw Winton Woods, but no question. I mean, Winton Woods, I mean, they're top of the ECC. I think Kings will give them another great battle, but I think Winton Woods, no question, gets in.
And also you got to watch out for Milford over there this year. They got a great quarterback coming back as well. I think he's going to be a senior. Lebanon's going to be tough in that ECC as well. I think there's going to be a lot of great teams coming out of the ECC this year as well. And while we're talking about conferences real quick, you got to watch out for that CHL. You got Wyoming as well over there. You got the 2021 top performer of the year for me for the Tim's Top 5 AAA Bob Scholarship, CJ Hessner. That young man, I went out to interview him as well and get to meet him and his family, and also at the ceremony when he won it. He is the humblest young man I've ever met. Great guy. Coach Hancock, his team's going to be loaded over at Wyoming. They're gonna make a great run in a Division IV as well. I believe that they're going to walk away with a state championship this year. I believe the local Cincinnati area is going to bring at least 3 winners for state titles this year. That's me predicting that, and I believe that it could happen. I mean, we just have so much. I'm going to say it every time. We got the talent. We got the best players. We got the best coaches and the programs right here in the local Cincinnati area. And that's including parts of Dayton as well. I will always tweet on Dayton as well. But I believe right here locally, we got some great kids.
No question about it. I love covering sports in Cincinnati. So, talking with you about it, it's a lot of fun. And I'm ready to run through walls just to get the high school football season started right now. I mean,
and one other thing I would love to see, and I'm pushing this, Lee, I would love to see the battle of the tri-state right down at Paul Brown Stadium. Ooh. Let's bring the local Cincinnati programs and let's play those Highlands. Let's play Beechwood. Let's play, Cub Calf and Elder plays every year. Can you imagine seeing a Beechwood and Winton Woods, Anderson and Highlands every year? Paul Brown, I've reached out to the people at the Bengals, and I would love to see that kick off down there. I would really love to see high school football back on the river. Make it be the tri-state battle of the river, and or something like that. Both states going at it. I would love to see the local Cincinnati, some of the other schools get to play some of those Kentucky schools for bragging rights.
I'd love to see that too. I mean, I think because of NCAA rules, we can't have it at Nippert anymore because it's considered college recruiting,
right.
But no, absolutely. That'd be, how hot that ticket would sell. I mean,
the stands would be packed. I mean, people would come out and see big games like that every year. And I wish the athletic directors, if you hear me on here, athletic directors, reach out. Let's make this happen for 2023. Let's get the showdown on the river. Let's do it. Let's play the Winton Woods and Highlands games. Let's do. And nothing against Kentucky high school football. There's great schools over there. I get a lot of feedback on that. I get guys tweeting me going, "Hey, what about us over here?" I love my local Cincinnati high school football. I've been sticking with that. And Kentucky, sorry, guys.
So we talked a little bit about the conferences. We talked about the Hills, Cincinnati Hills. We talked about Eastern Cincinnati Conference, a little Greater Miami Conference in the mix too. But how many teams and athletes would you say you cover on a yearly basis?
Lee, I covered the whole local Cincinnati area. I couldn't even imagine of it. My wife, she asked me that too. She said, "How many tweets do you think you sent out this past year?" I'm like, "Honey, I have to go to Twitter and check that out." Really, be honest with you, I believe I cover every conference in our local area. And the majority, every player. I'm always looking at stats. After every game on Friday night, I'm up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, just getting stats together and trying to figure out during the season. Now, I got to pick the top performer of every week, and I'm doing the first and second prize winner this year. It's going to be a $5,000 scholarship for the first prize winner and $1,000 scholarship for the second prize winner. That means each week I'm going to pick 2 top performers, and it could be defense, offense, could be a kicker, could be anybody. But I'm focusing on stats. I'm also, when I'm doing that as well, Lee, I'm focusing on how the athlete does in school as well. I get a lot of feedback, what they do in the community, how they work with other incoming players as well during practice and stuff like that.
So that's a lot of athletes and teams that you get to cover. What's some of the challenging points on that? Because Cincinnati, the surrounding area, there's a lot of high schools. There's a lot of athletes, especially when we're talking football. What's some of the challenges of getting everyone an equal time to shine?
Lee, the real challenge with all this is getting out there. because I want to be out there as well covering the games. I want to be out there watching some of the games and also getting out there to meet some of these athletes. That is a real challenging point, because when you're just one person, I get a lot of tweets coming into me saying, Tim, can't once you come out to so and so school, why it's a big challenge, and I'm hoping this coming season to make a lot of that happen.
What you need is one of those Monday Night Football desks where it has all the screens and everything, so you're watching all the games and that. In my kitchen, in my dining room, that's how it is, really. I mean, I got laptops up, I got tablets up, I got all this up, watching, keeping updated on everything. And it's going to, and like I said, I enjoy it. I do it for the kids. I enjoy getting up, sending the tweets, sending out the halftime scores and all that, because, it's a great thing that I love doing. And, it makes my day as well as it makes the young men's day. You brought up an interesting point about stats and going over covering the boys volleyball state semis a few weekends ago now. Columbus area schools, there's not really a way to get stats unless there's a team that goes, solo on max preps, but that's not guaranteed. With Cincinnati, a lot of the conferences have their own websites and they keep their own stats and everything. I mean, we got it made here in Southwest Ohio.
And also we got a lot of great coaches too, because if I need certain stats on a Drew Novick, if it's not coming up on their conference website, I can reach out to the coaches. They're really, they tell you what they did that night, and and that's great. They want their player to get that recognition, and these coaches we have in the local Cincinnati area are great by doing that. And sometimes you can reach out to the players. I've always reached out if I see CJ Hesner having a good game, or Casey Spears, or even Tyreek Spikes this past season at Winton Woods. I would reach out to him, TJ Eagleman as well. Say, hey guys, good game. I see you guys did your thing tonight, and they're so polite. Like, yeah, I had four touchdowns. I had this and had that. They give me a lot of information in that, and that's really great. And they also like seeing me reaching out to them and letting them know, hey, Tim's Top 5 is watching you guys, and great game tonight.
So we mentioned that you cover everyone in Cincinnati, but there's got to be some favorite spots that you go to during the season. Like, what's some of your favorite venues, your favorite tailgating experiences? What's some of your favorite spots in a high school football season? One favorite spot that I was so amazed with, Lee, is going over to LaSalle. LaSalle, even at their practice, I got to cover a lot of their players this past 2021 season. And let me tell you, LaSalle Lancers bring a lot of energy and tailgating, and, the fans, the student sections, they all come out, and they do that throughout the Cincinnati area. I'm not just saying one school does that, and that's why I tell everybody in my videos, let's get pumped up. Let's pack those stands. Let's bring the energy this year. Let's do it, because every place I've been out to McNick too during a playoff game against Bethel Tate. Man, the energy there was so great. And, the whole Cincinnati area brings a lot of it. I mean, every game I've been to, I can't even pick a favorite, because I walk out of there and I go, wow. I mean, there's a lot of great high school football stadiums as well, like the Pit. It's nationally well known.
Yeah, well known. Yeah, up in Elder. That, I went to a couple of their games back in 2000, and I went to a couple games about 3 years ago up there, and 3 or 4 years ago. And let me tell you, Elder, I hate a lot of the high school programs that we have in Cincinnati. I think they do better in some colleges with fans. They bring the energy, they bring the fans. That shows the support that we have here in Cincinnati. And that's why it would be a great idea to start bringing the high school football games back down to Paul Brown Stadium. Because if we can pack Elder and pack a lot of these areas, we can pack Paul Brown Stadium.
Absolutely. I love to see that too. And what is it about high school football that the area just loves so much? You can't go the fall season without, hey, here's high school football. I mean, just, man, I love it. I love that I'm part of it too. It's just crazy to me that it's so big in Southwest Ohio.
It is so big. And that's what brought me to it a lot is I have never seen so much people that come out to these games. They tailgate. There's even great food, and it's just the energy that we bring right here in the local Cincinnati area, and also we got the talent, we got the players, and that's so amazing.
So going back, what's some of the nicest compliments you received? You mentioned that sometimes athletes and parents will reach out to you saying, thanks for covering our kid or thanks for covering me. But what's some of the nicest compliments you've received?
Well, I had a young man out of Roger Bacon reach out to me a couple it wasn't last season, it was the season before. He said, hey, Mr. Swafford, thanks for posting and giving me recognition. I got an offer at a local college and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, look, I didn't do this. You did this. You did it on the field, and also you do it in the classroom. And getting that and getting the feedback from a player thinks that what I do gives him the opportunity to go to college. It made me sit there and go, wow, this young man he knows, it wasn't Tim really. It was him. He's the one that puts the effort in. He's out there practicing. He's out there hitting the books really hard. And, hearing comments like that, and also parents reaching out to me and it's great, man. I had Pete Rose Jr. reach out to me not too long ago, Lee. He's got a son that's a linebacker over at St. X. And, he asked me, he said, Hey, Mr. Swafford, I just want to let you know, I know you don't know about my son, Pete Rose Jr. the third. He's a linebacker over at St. X, man. Can you, check him out and everything else? Let me know what you think. Having Pete Rose Jr. reach out to you and, ask you to do something like that, that's unbelievable to me because, I just started this as because I wanted to cover some of the local high school football, but now doing it for a couple years, I consider this as one of my, I have an outside job that I do. And, I also make this my other job because I have to do this for these local players because it's just the love that I have for these guys.
I mean, absolutely. It shows. I mean, when you're covering so many athletes and teams, I mean, you got to have a love for it. So I always love seeing that. And thank you for tagging me in all the tweets too. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun seeing everyone, just, be happy about it and,
right.
Appreciate you. So I definitely dig that. Now, let me ask this. You do Twitter a lot, but have you ever thought about having like your own podcast or your own website? Have you thought about something like that?
I thought about doing my own podcast. It's just, doing the Twitter thing, and with the season coming up, I'm getting pumped up. I do a media relation over at Indian Hill Football as well. That's something else that I do for the Braves as well. And and that's still not going to keep me from covering the local Cincinnati area. And I know I got some big games over there. I got the Cowboys coming in. I got CJ Hesner coming in over at Indian Hill this year, and I can't wait to cover that game because, I'm a big Braves fan, and also I'm a big Cowboys fan too. And when they play, I gotta sit in the middle of this one. But I can't wait to do that. But with the podcast, I would love eventually one day get on there and start doing a weekly podcast talking about the upcoming games and also the previous games as well. And also trying to get some of the players on there as well.
I mean, I think that'd be great for you just because of the fact that, it's your voice, you're putting, your own soul into it. And, if you ever need any help, you can always reach out to me and I'll help you the best I can on that if you decide you want to go for that. But yeah, I always think that, Twitter's great, but at the same time, if people can hear your voice, that's the one thing that Twitter really lacks.
Maybe we can come in together and do the Lee and Tim weekly local Cincinnati high school football program. That'd be great.
That wouldn't be bad. I'd like that. I mean, man, that's a lot of Cincinnati football to talk about. But
yes,
man, I'd enjoy that. So, just if you ever need help with that, just keep me posted.
Okay.
But my next question is, you cover a lot of high school football. Is there any sport that you want to extend your coverage in, like maybe boys basketball? Because we got a pretty nice boys basketball scene, girls basketball scene.
Lee, I'm a big basketball fan. A lot of people wouldn't know that with me as I've always grew up on Dayton and UC down here in the Cincinnati area. And before transferring over to Hughes in high school, I went to Woolward High School back in the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade before I transferred to Hughes. And back then, that's when Coach Leon at the time was at Woolward, and he won a state championship with players like Damon Flynn, I think Eric Dukes. It was a bunch of players that trying to remember their names. And I think we had also a kid in the class that I was in named Eric Johnson. He went to Louisville and became a good player for the Cardinals down there. I'm a big basketball fan. I can't wait to see what Taft's going to do again this year. That team was so talented last year. And I would love, that's something I would love to get into. And it's a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to somebody about that. Football, we got 10 in the playoffs and a couple of scrimmages before football season. But high school, it's a lot of games, a lot of stats. And but that is something some feel. Even girls softball has reached out to me, Lee, and want me. And it's so amazing to see other programs reach out to me and say, hey, Mr. Swafford, hey, have you ever thought about covering softball? Have you ever thought about covering local wrestling? And, I'm considering expanding this very soon because I want to branch out to something else as well. But football is always going to be my heart. That's going to be my 365-day thing that I'm going to do for these guys. And that's why I tell them that they're not going to get no other coverage like this all year long. That's going to tweet every day for the local Cincinnati area.
I mean, football is your bread and butter, and you played football with Hughes, so I definitely get that. But be really cool just because Cincinnati's got some really good sports. I mean, heck, Lakota West broke that long streak of no state titles for big schools softball, and that last one was 85 in Hamilton. But that was incredible.
And I got a cousin. His daughter is going to be playing varsity next year for Oak Hills, and Oak Hills had a great run as well. Her name is Sammy. Her name is Sammy Swafford. She's a very, very talented player, and I will say the Highlanders over there in the GMC has got a great, same thing with Lakota West. They got great programs in softball. It was so amazing sitting back watching them. And look what Moeller also did in baseball this year. I mean, then you had Dayton, and, that's the team too in the local football area. Local high school football. Dayton's going to be so talented with Caden Sparks and Braden Moore. There's so much talent that a lot of these players and our programs have throughout the city, with basketball, baseball, softball, even wrestling and stuff.
I mean, it's crazy how good the Cincinnati area is in high school sports. And I will also say it's crazy good that Luke Fickle not only is sticking around with the Bearcats, as next year they'll be members of the Big 12, but he's recruited locally. And hey, the Bearcats have had success. And I wonder why. Tell that last coach, hey, recruiting in town actually works.
Yep. I mean, one thing you can say about Luke Fickell and the Bearcats, and now they just got Kerry Combs over there too. He's going to bring a lot of talented players to UC, and he loves recruiting locally, and that is good for our local players. And it was good to also see, I sent out a message to Cameron Calhoun about switching his decision and now going to UC, and the Bearcats, that's one thing me and my 11-year-old, we cannot wait forward to. We are big Bearcat football fans. I will say that. I'm a Bearcat all the way. A lot of people, my wife's a big Ohio State fan. No. I'm a Bearcat fan. I love my UC Bearcats. Growing up in that area of Clifton, I'm always going to be a Bearcat.
And that's kind of the reason why I started this podcast nearly 6 years ago now. It's basically saying, hey, you can like Ohio State, but, there's more college programs than Ohio State.
Oh, yeah,
and it's just, that's a hot button topic for me, but that's for another time. But no, I love seeing the success, trickle up. And who knows, maybe more Bearcats become Bengals. And hey.
That's true. Sure, we got a lot, like you said, we got a lot of great colleges. Look at NKU now in basketball in Division I, and Wright State up there is they always have a talented basketball. UD does good. Xavier now got Sean Miller back, and it's a lot of talent right here in our local area, and it's good to see that, because that brings. It gets the people to the games. It brings the energy, and seeing these coaches as well recruit locally and get the local high school stars into their college programs is awesome.
I mean, we got great high school programs, college programs, and if it wasn't for the Reds stinking it up with a 3-22 record, our pro teams would be pretty good too.
Yeah, we got the Dragons. You can't let them out. Yeah, you got the Dragons up there. They're doing pretty well. And the Reds, but the good thing is the Reds are down. They're having a down year. We got the Bengals coming back. I'm excited for that as well. I want to see part 2 of seeing if they can make another run. And it's great to be a big Cincinnati sports fan.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people look down on Cincinnati saying, it's not a sports town or something. It's like, no, it's a really good sports town. I love all the fans around Cincinnati. It's just so great to see the passion coming back and great folks, being able to celebrate a winner again. So, and FC Cincinnati is not looking too shabby now time. Which, that's great to see as well. I didn't think it'd take this short amount of time to turn around, but at the same time, they're looking better. So,
I'm actually going to a game for the first time ever in July. Ooh. My son's a big FC fan, and like you just said, they're doing really, really well, and I cannot wait to get out there and see how the energy is in TQL, and it's going to be awesome for me to check out soccer as well.
We talk about the fans' passion for high school football, but soccer's just on a different level. You see them. It doesn't matter if FC Cincinnati's in the basement or they're having this great rebounding year. They're always there. They bring a lot of folks, a lot of smoke bombs, a lot of flags and banners. I love seeing that in Cincinnati, and that's what the city deserves, because it's such a great place to be part of, live or work. So I always enjoy, covering Cincinnati sports, what I do. So let me ask this. We mentioned that you love sports locally. What are some of the reasons why you love Cincinnati sports?
just it goes back to a lot. It's the tradition of Cincinnati sports. I mean, growing up, seeing the big XU and UC crosstown shootout, seeing the Bengals in the late 80s and in the little playoff run back then and going to the Super Bowl against the 49ers, seeing the Reds go wire to wire in 1990 and going down to Fountain Square and to the World Series celebration. It's just the energy that this town brings. I mean, it's a good sports town. Like you said, it doesn't matter if we're winning or losing. If you're a Bengals fan, you're always going to be a Bengals fan. If you're a Bearcat, you're going to be a Bearcat. If you're a Cincinnati Reds fan, you're going to be a Reds fan. It's hands down, it's just one of the best sports in local high school football too, and all the other sports as well. It's just one great town of sports.
Let me ask this. It is a great town of sports, but what would you like to see in the future for Cincinnati sports or even Cincinnati sports media? What would you like to see as we keep going through time build up in Cincinnati?
I would really love to see, like we just talked about just a little bit ago, I would love to see the high school football games being brought back down to the river and packing because I believe, Lee, I will say this, I believe we have great programs here and we could actually pack Paul Brown, make it a rivalry games against Kentucky. I would also, in the sports media too, I would love to see a lot of the media get out there and get to know a lot of these players a little bit more. I notice, nothing against the Reds, Bengals, or anything else. Get to know the high school players as well. I mean, because giving them the recognition, because they work really hard. That's one thing I would love to see get covered a lot more in the local Cincinnati area. And that's what makes me do the things that I do for the local high school football and stuff, because I know a lot of the times they don't get the recognition that they deserve. And some of the schools, think about this, Lee, Western Brown, we made a good point on Drew Novick. Mm-hmm. Western Brown being all the way out there in Mount Orab almost on 32 and, on the east side. That young man, the talented numbers and the way Nick Osborne's got that program out there winning. It didn't get that much notary of recognition this past couple of years. And once I started seeing that, I started putting a lot of their players on social media. I've reached out to the local media saying, hey guys, Western Brown, this team is awesome. This team is awesome. And, one thing I noticed after I did that, Lee, they started getting a lot of TV time, a lot of media time. I love seeing stuff like that. I love seeing schools come out of nowhere. Blanchester as well. That team's going to be great this year. I love seeing the little schools get the notary that they should.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what division you are. You could be Division 1 or Division 7. I mean, it doesn't matter. Right. You're going to field a great team in Cincinnati, right. And those are great kids. It's just really the difference is how many kids are on the sideline.
Right. Same thing. I went to a Deer Park game this year, Deer Park in Indian Hill. Mm-hmm. I've never seen so much energy that Deer Park brings. And, I'm over there. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going over here. It's not going to, and I had a park like 3 blocks down the road. Their fans support their programs. And, and I love that energy that we got. It doesn't matter what kind of school, a small school, no matter what kind of division you're in. We have the support right here. And it's good to see that. It really, really is.
That's one of my favorite things, too, is just seeing how many people support their teams and just how big the crowds are, how loud they are. It's amazing. And we can't overstate this enough, or understate it, I should say. But yeah, this area is awesome. And I love being able to cover teams here in Dayton and Cincinnati. So definitely agree with you there.
Yep.
Now, for those that want to cover sports like you, what advice can you give?
Never give up on it. Put your, some days you're going to be down on it, and some days you're going to think that, wow, this is too much. Never go with your heart. Never give up on it. Let me tell you, I'm a big sports fan. It brings out when you go to the football games or any high school venue, it brings out the kid in you. And if you're really wanting to do this, put in the effort, put in the time, and don't give up. It's something, Lee, a lot of times I used to ask myself, what am I doing? But you know what? There's days I'm down here right now in Florida. Yeah, I'm doing this interview with you. I'm down here in Destin, Florida right now. And I still get up and tweet. I still get up and talk high school, local Cincinnati high school football because I care. Don't give up. Put your heart into it and stick with it.
So how can people follow you and your work on social media?
They can follow me on Twitter, Tim's Top 5 Sports and Recognition. They can also follow me on Facebook at Tim's Top 5 and Sports Recognition.
Tim, do you have any last words before we close out this interview?
I'm excited, Lee. High school football is right around the corner. August is going to kick off. We're going to have a big season right here in the local Cincinnati area. Tim's Top 5 is predicting 3 teams out of the local Cincinnati area will win state titles this year. It's going to be a great year for the local high school football. I can't wait to get out there. I can't wait to cover some games. Can't wait to get out there and interview some players. I'm so excited. I want all the players, all the coaches, all the programs to know I do this every day for them. I care about the programs. It just brings a lot of energy for me. Keep following me. Thank you so much for following me. And I do everything for our local Cincinnati high school football area.
Not to one-up you at the end of the interview, but I will make this bet. For the state title games, there's going to be at least one representative in each division from the Cincinnati-Dayton area, just like we had last year.
I believe it. I believe I will say 3 to 4 comes out winners this year. I just think that the talent is there. I cannot wait. I can't wait to see what Moeller does in the GCL. I can't wait to see 3 teams I'm going to name off: Hughes, Withrow, and Taft. Mm-hmm. And Cincinnati Metro, ECC, Winton Woods, Western Brown. I can't wait to see what they do. I can't wait to see what Ross does over in I think that's Southwest League. I can't wait to see what happens over there. GMC, I cannot wait to see what Lakota West. But also, don't sleep on Corraine. Corraine's got a great quarterback over there as well. And I'm wanting to see how Princeton ends up this year. I'm a big Vikings fan. I covered them a lot this past season, and one of their coaches over there I'm real good friends with, Antoine Peak, and I cannot wait to see what the Vikings really do this coming year in the GMC now. And it's just going to be a great season in the local Cincinnati area, and seeing LaSalle as well in the GCL South, and also Fenwick and Dayton and a GCL co-league, co-ed. I mean, it's going to be a big season this coming season.
Absolutely, and hopefully I'll be back with.
Yeah, don't forget my Wyoming Cowboys and Taylor out of the CHL. Watch out for Taylor this year. A surprising quarterback out of the CHL. Also, John Prodigal out of Indian Hill. Young man took over for Ty Thornton last year for the Braves. Watch out for that young man.
Hopefully I'll be back for my 3rd year broadcasting Princeton football. I'm not terribly worried about the Engelmans transferring out to Hughes so much, because Princeton has a really stockpiled JV and freshman teams to fall back on. I mean, I am going to miss the dynamics of TJ at quarterback and running back. I'm going to miss Jaleel and Lorenzo line up as wide receivers for the Vikings. But at the same time, I think Princeton will be just fine. And Andre Parker, he's a heck of a head coach, and I'm glad he's with Princeton.
Parker's a winning coach. Believe it. The Vikings are going to be well taken care of. I just want to see what surprises he has, because let me tell you, Andre Parker, when he was over at Winton Woods, he was amazing. He walked away. Chad took over the team, won the state title. But, a person that should also get a ring from that is Andre Parker. I believe so. He was part of that development over at Winton Woods. And, they got a lot of great coaches, too. And like you said also earlier in the podcast, it would be great one day to see Winton Woods and Princeton. Just let it happen. Don't worry about the divisions. Lee, that's one thing I do every year, too. I don't know if you've seen it last year. I do a ranking system. I take all the area teams, and I don't care, Division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When I do my top 25 each week, I started it last year. I pick the top 25 schools in the local area, should be ranked 1 or whatever. I never pick divisions because I want to. It was good to see Wyoming there at number 1 last year for me, and I got a lot of heat from a lot of Division 1 schools over that. But you know what? That brings the energy of it, because some schools, hey, they deserve that every once in a while. They do, man. They all work hard, and, that's just the excitement of the game and the excitement of the local Cincinnati area high school football.
Tim, go enjoy your vacation, and if you're at a Princeton game this year, come find me, and I'd like to meet you.
All right, sure will, Lee. And if you ever decide you want to do this Tim and Lee local Cincinnati high school football podcast, reach out to me. We can make things happen, sir.
Sounds good, Tim. That's Tim Swafford of Tim's Top 5 Sports and Recognition. And this is episode 240 of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast, wrapping up. We'll talk to you again next time. Thank you for listening to the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast with Lee W. Mowen. Be sure to bookmark CindayPod.com, spelled CINDAYPOD, the official website of the podcast. You can find your favorite ways of listening to the local Cinday Sports Podcast, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Amazon Music, the iHeartRadio app, and many more. You can also purchase merchandise from TeePublic and Redbubble to help support the podcast. Follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CindayPod, and the host at the Lee W. Mowen. The closing theme is Cosmopolitan from Pecan Pie on Uppbeat. This is Lee W. Mowen signing off another episode of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. Thank you for your continued listenership, and join me on the next episode.